Hello, vinyl community, friends, family, fellow space cadets. Today we're going to do something a little different. It's not going to be a regular locked grooves where I show you what I've been playing all week. This is a vinyl tag that it's been going around the vinyl community. Basically, it's 20 questions that you answer about your collection and yourself. So, nobody tagged me, and I don't know if I'll tag anybody else. Maybe I will. But I saw it and I thought, well, this will be fun. I'm one of those guys that I like to do the contest, even though I don't want to win anything. I just like making videos and showing people what I got. So let's start off with, there's 20 questions, so we'll start off with number 1. How many records do you own? Well, on Discogs, I've got, as far as vinyl goes, it's 640. But I've got about 1,000 laying around the house. You know, stuff that, I have a collection that I have that's kind of a psychedelic space rock collection, and then I've got records outside of that that are not, like ZZ Top. I've got several ZZ Top albums, some Alice Cooper. I kind of put those in another collection that I have. So there's about 1,000 laying around the house. Well, in my collection, and then maybe another 300 around the house. And then I've got about 2,000 CDs. I'm looking over at my CD collection and I'm guesstimating, but I'm probably right, because that's not all of them. So we are a music-loving family. What kind of record player do you have? It's a Orbit U-Turn, and it's made right here in the United States of America, up in the Northeast. I can't remember where, but these guys are great. Customer service is fantastic. They sent me a new belt when I needed one. They're always happy to answer questions. So if you're ever in the market for a new turntable, I would go to U-Turn. How old were you when you started collecting? Well, when I really started collecting, I was collecting records when I was a kid and then on through my teenage years, but when I really got the bug was about 17 years ago, when I was 30 years old. That's about the time. Was it 2099, 2000? And CDs were expensive. I had bought a cheap record player at the time, and you could buy records for $2, $3 a piece. I mean, $5 was expensive back then. It was like, no way, man. I mean, it's, you know. But, so I've been actively collecting ever since then, but I had records as a child. We had a turntable in the living room. So, that's probably the best answer. What is the oldest record you own? Well, I bought it a couple years ago, but I think this is 1959. It's called Pagan Festival, and it's one of those Exotica albums that, I don't know, I bought it for like $2. In the antique mall, there was a guy that was selling a lot of records, a lot of like bargain bin albums, and it looked really cool. I thought it was going to be really dark and gloomy and just cool, but it's not. It's kind of lighthearted and cheesy, but I still own it, and I think that's the only album I have from the 50s, except for maybe a Johnny Cash that I could not confirm how old it was. What is the first record you ever got? Well, I think that was probably, let's just say it was the soundtrack for the musical Hair. I was infatuated with that movie when I was a kid. It was 1979. I was 10 years old, and I probably had records before then, you know, that were bought for us. I just can't remember them. I know that we had the soundtrack for Grease and Star Wars and some other things, but the album that was actually bought for me and not for the family was Hair. And it's just a soundtrack album for the movie, and I've lost it, but it's great. Every song on there, well, not every song, but most of the songs on there are fantastic. I remember them all when I was 10 years old, every word to all, which is probably not a healthy thing for a 10-year-old. First record you bought with your own money? Well, the first record I remember buying with my own money was Ozzy Osbourne's Blizzard of Oz. That's the first one I remember. Was it the first one? Probably not. Favorite colored vinyl? I have a lot of different colored vinyl, so I was going through a lot, trying to figure out my favorite one, and I was having a hard time, but I like this one. I may be digging through something later on in a week or two and say, dang, this is my favorite colored, but this is from Monster Magnet, and this is kind of a cool album. Like I said, I've got some that are equally or maybe even better than this, but I'm kind of a colored vinyl fan. Some folks aren't. Some folks are like, they think that we're weird and cheesy for liking colored vinyl, but I don't care, it's fun. And the album this came off of was, what was this? It was Cobras and Fire, a reimaging of Mastermind. So, great album, cool colored vinyl. Okay, well, we're up to number 8. What is a discount album that you have? Now, I have a lot of discount albums, probably hundreds of them, because I bought a lot for just $2 or $3, but they're really good. But this one, I just picked this one because I thought it was kind of cool. I bought it for $1. And it's called Africa 68. It's got a lot of African artists on there from the 60s, and it's just kind of a fun album to listen to. I do like to listen to it. What's it worth? $7 to $10. So it's not like it increased a whole lot, and that's really not the point. But that was just the one that I showed. I could showed you 100 discount albums. Okay, what is your prized possession? Well, I don't really have a lot of prized possessions, but if I had any, it might be this one right here, the Tangerine Dream box set. And I have other box sets that are bigger and better and cost more than this, but this is one of the first albums that I bought when I started recollecting back in '99. I went in there to buy a Tangerine Dream CD, and the guy said, hey man, you got a record player? I got this great deal for you. And he showed me this box set. It's got 5 albums in it. And it's probably one of the albums that really kicked off my love for collecting psychedelic music, space rock, krautrock, stuff that you normally wouldn't listen to in the car. A record by a female artist. Here we go, Alice Coltrane. I have 3 or 4 of her albums. I absolutely love her. If I had to say, she is my favorite female artist. So let's give some love to Alice. Record by favorite band. Well, if you've been watching lately and seen my last couple of videos, I have one called I Love Black Mountain. It was my Valentine's Day episode where I just basically showed all my Black Mountain albums and their side projects. So Black Mountain at this moment is my favorite band, and this is an album called Into the Future. Basically in the future. An impulse buy. Well, a few years ago, I got an impulse to join the Vault, Jack White's Vault, where he sends you every 3 months. They send you, is it 3 or 4 months? I can't remember. Every 3 months, they send you an album. You got to pay $60 for it, but it was kind of an impulse buy. It was like had never really done it before. I had some White Stripe albums, but it seemed cool. So I have several of these, several White Stripes related albums, Jack White albums. I will probably show those later on, some real nice box sets. But this is just a representation of an impulse buy that lasted quite a long time. A gift. Circles Around the Sun. My mom got me this when I was, well, a couple years ago for Christmas. This is a Grateful Dead related project. It was, I can't remember who he is. Neil Castle. Neil Castle, who is in the Chris Robinson Brotherhood. Grateful Dead hired them to do the bumper music for their final shows a few years ago. So when their final shows happened and the crowds went to go get beer, well, they played his music. Most played record, well, Abbey Road. Hard to beat it. Throughout my whole life, this is probably the record I played the most, whether it be on vinyl or CD. A rarity. Is Billy Corgan's Aegea. When they announced this, they were going to make 250 copies. So Billy Corgan of the Smashing Pumpkins was going to release a double album of just weird electronic music, and signed, and he was going to release 250. Okay. Well, on that day, I happened to be home from work, so I jumped on the phone, or jumped on the web, and was able to. I missed the first 250. They sold out so fast. We're talking like within seconds. That they said, okay, we'll do 250 more, and I got the second go round of 250. So there's about 500 of these. So it is pretty rare. Do I listen to it much? Not really, because the music ended up not being very good. But a rainy day record. I like Neil Young. I could throw on Decade by Neil Young and just listen to it all afternoon while it rains. So I think that's a good rainy day album. A feel-good album. Polyphonic Spree. It's called Psych-Phonic. If you don't know who the Polyphonic Spree is, they are a band from Dallas. There's always between like 18 and 25 members in the band. They wear robes, and they are incredibly psychedelic, but they're happy. They're like happy psychedelic band. And this is a remix of one of their albums. I can't remember which one it was, but I love this. When I'm feeling down, I'll put this on. I mean, it really gets me happy. Dancing? No, I rarely dance. Well, I will thrash. If you put Metallica on, I will thrash. But dance? No. How about a nostalgic record? Okay. Styx. This reminds me of times in the 70s with me and my cousin when we would listen to records on his collection, or his dad's collection. Was it this one? Maybe. But there were many others that this represents. You know, Foreigner, Queen, Yes, Rush, Steve Miller, just all those great bands of the 70s. And we had a record player, and sometimes his mom and dad would leave. We would have the house to ourselves, and we would just run around and just jam, play air guitar. So this is a nostalgic record, and that's why. It just reminds me of those innocent days as a kid listening to music with my cousin. A record store day purchase. This is a record store day purchase, but I actually purchased it online because I couldn't find anybody who had it that day, and I also couldn't make it. This was the latest one. It's Timothy Leary, The Psychedelic Experience. I don't really care for record store day, because I know a lot of people say this, but every day is record store day. I mean, we're always buying. We're always on Discogs, and the people that we're buying from are not giant brick and mortar stores. They're usually family-owned businesses. So, I'll look and see what's special that they have that's coming out that they're releasing, and I may pick up something. I think I picked up 3 altogether, and that was one of them. My recent purchase. Now, this is not a brand new album, but this is 5 albums. But this is my most recent purchase that came in the mail yesterday. And when Larry Coryell passed last week, I just went online and started buying a bunch of his albums. I already had about 10 of his albums, but I got 5 more now. So I'm up to 15 Larry Coryell albums. And this is what I have. The 11th House, Aspects, Larry Coryell in the 11th House at the Montreux. This one I haven't actually listened to yet. Splendid, Coryell and Catherine. Listen to this one today. Larry Coryell, excuse me. I can really, which one is this? Offerings, which is great. I really like this one. And then Coryell and Muzan back together again. And both the gentlemen are gone now. Alphonse Muzan died on December 26th of 2016. And then Larry Coryell passed away, I guess it was maybe 2 weeks ago now, a week ago. So that's it. That's the 20 questions. So maybe you learned a little bit about me, or maybe you didn't learn enough. If you're a regular viewer, if you're a new viewer, welcome. But anyway, have fun. See you on the flip side, and keep spinning.